I'm Jan Vermeulen, Editor-at-Large for My Broadband. I'm here with Lux Maharaj, the Sales Director for Parallel Wireless in the Southern African region. Thank you so much for inviting us to join you at AfricaCom 2018. This event is all about innovation and shaping Africa's digital future. What's Parallel Wireless's take on Africa's digital future?
Well, if you look in Africa, currently there's no operator that can really lay claim to having bridged the digital divide. Often they're faced with costs, both CapEx, OpEx, investment costs, ongoing costs that don't really justify any kind of business case for investment in rural areas. And there are a whole lot of 2G operators that have gone and deployed 2G, for example, in these rural areas. But today, now they face a situation of having to upgrade those 2G systems to include 3G. It also means they have to upgrade the power systems for additional solar panels, batteries, and so forth. So it becomes a challenge in terms of ongoing investment and costs. Now, in comparison, if you look at the parallel wireless solution, we provide a solution that provides 2G today. It can be 2G and 3G tomorrow. It can be 3G and 4G the next day, and eventually even 5G. So we offer operators the solution where they can choose any two radio access technologies to deploy simultaneously as and when they please. And it is the same hardware without any additional cost. Okay, so essentially Parallel Wireless has reinvented the radio access network, essentially based our technology on OpenRAN and general processing platforms. General processing platforms are things like common off-the-shelf hardware, commonly available electronic equipment, and so forth. So we have changed the fundamental basics of how operators look at the investment, both CapEx and OpEx, when deploying the networks. Yeah.
Tell us a little about this OpenRAN solution of Parallel Wireless.
Okay, so OpenRAN, as I mentioned, is based on open and northbound, open north and southbound interfaces and general processing platforms. Right. In comparison, if you look at the traditional vendors, they tend to have very much closed systems. Now, the other thing about our solution is that we've taken the entire RAN, and I really mean the entire RAN, the 2G, 3G, 4G, we've taken the BSC, MSC, RNC, the Wi-Fi gateway, the security gateway, the home gateway, all these components that you find in the radio access network, we've taken that and virtualized that into a one-use server. So the entire radio access network resides on something we call the HNG, the HetNet gateway. Now that HetNet gateway, apart from just being virtualizing the RAN, we have also taken that and multi-tenanted it. So in other words, we can take it and use it for multiple mobile operators using something, the 3GPP specification MOCN, that is multiple operator carrier network. We've gone a couple of steps further even more. So the HNG has something called active SON. Now traditional vendors tend to have SON, self-optimization, for 4G networks. We have SON actively for 4G, 3G, and 2G all at the same time. Now the other thing about that is, if you look in a rural area, if you deploy sites in a rural area, it's virtually impossible to kind of do drive testing in these areas because there's no roads, right? Whilst if you look at our solution, deploying multiple sites with our solution, the entire thing self-optimizes itself, meaning that the amount of OpEx or operational requirements are actually quite low. And furthermore, if you look in Africa, the requirement for very skilled senior RF engineers or RF planners and so forth is significantly reduced. So the ease of building a network, even in a very difficult environment, becomes very easy and automated.
And how do operators view the solution?
All right, so initially we've been engaging operators to advise them on this route towards bridging the digital divide. And what has happened is that given that they view on the traditional approach, they've looked at the engagements with the ongoing vendors, and they've realized our solution is almost like a disbelief. It's very disruptive. They've been put into situations where they've been buying closed systems, right? They are forced into technology upgrade fees. They're forced into license costs, feature fees, even neighbor relations, and various similar costs like that. In comparison, PW Parallel Wireless does not have all those components in our business model. So when we approach the operators, they see a a road going forward with significant capex and opex reduction. They see a big change in the cost base in order to enable them to compete with other operators. They see the means for us, for them to engage in other verticals. Because if you look at the standard base station, right, you see a standard base station out there, it's a fixed base station, but the parallel wireless solution does not have to be a fixed base station. It does not have to be just on a mast. It is flexible enough to install any kind of street furniture, and I mean any kind really, like a street pole, even on top of a hut, on top of a building, the side of a building, essentially anywhere, right? Because of the SON capability, it is able to self-optimize, whether that is outdoor or indoor, or having to hand off and so forth. The other thing about parallel wireless is, unlike having a fixed base station, whether it's on a street pole and so forth, we also have base stations that can be moving. So mobile base stations, for example, that could be on a soldier's backpack or a miner's backpack. It can be on a drone or even a helikite, on ships, on boats, in police vehicles, defense vehicles. So we enable the operator to not only deploy the HETNET gateway to deal with the fixed network, whether it be rural or urban or densification or in-building, but also to get into other markets, and those markets being traditional markets where they might not have been engaging in, such as public safety, mining, oil rigs, and various other such solutions. All right, so they have seen parallel wireless as a huge differentiator in that regard. And apart from the capex and opex base for the operator, for you and I as the end user, we expect over time that all this kind of technology innovation is going to end up being a benefit to you and I, because we want to see the cost of communication going down, especially in the Southern African region. The costs tend to be high versus some of the other African countries. But nevertheless, overall, for Africa to achieve a lower price that the end user pays for services, not just in the urban areas, but right down into the rural areas.
And you were talking about the multi-tenant capabilities of your OpenRAN solution, and there's been a lot of conversations at AfricaCom about the WAN, about what that means. There's talk about the 4G networks for the wholesale open access network that the South African government wants to build, and what they're going to do with 5G in the future. Have you had conversations around how this multi-tenant solution can work for an open access network like that?
Yeah, in fact, I had a discussion on a conference call with Dr. Tele in the ministry. So what we advised the ministry was that, when you look at a wholesale open access network, ideally look at a solution that is not vendor specific. Look at a solution that is open, that is not closed, that follows an innovative route, that has the kind of virtualization, cloud-based technology, all these, if I can put it this way, these innovative words or these buzzwords that you are hearing today, but it is a reality when it comes to parallel wireless. And yes, exactly as we did advise the minister, was that we can provide a solution for the wholesale open access network based on OpenRAN technology. And remember, OpenRAN technology is an initiative that was started by Facebook, what they call the TIP initiative, Telecom Infra Project. Now, so it's many vendors that are involved in this idea of, if I can use the word open source, making the RAN type of an open source, okay, and hence bringing down the costs and making it more flexible and easier to use. So that said, we can deploy a network based on the spectrum and so forth that the South African government is choosing for the wholesale open access network, and that very network, whether it be outdoor or even indoor, and even you take the basement within some of the buildings in South Africa, you have no coverage in there. We can provide solutions that enable, not just based on the typical, the industry is used to DAS systems. Okay, so we provide a completely different type of solution that is actually very flexible, far more cost effective and so forth, to enable the South African government to have coverage outdoor, indoor, in rural areas and so forth, and be able to take all that infrastructure and share that with the likes of Vodacom, MTN, Cell C, Telkom, Rain, and all the other operators that will want to access that wholesale open access network. Yeah.
Great, it's really been great to learn more about your open access solution. Thank you for inviting us to AfricaCom,
Nice
and all the
meet you.
best with the show.
Okay, thank you very much.